guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go to this great email that was sent from a subscriber. I'm talking, this is classic entertainment here. It's all about a guy, it sounds like now he's in his early 30s, and he shares his story how he and his whole family came together to get some boss level revenge on the divorce process with his now ex-wife. His cheater ex-wife. You're going to see this dude comes from what he describes as a very wealthy family, some old money here, trust funds, the whole 9 yards. And with that family wealth comes lots and lots of rules with regards to when you get your trust and all that, and prenups. And you're going to see here, this guy, he is in corporate finance because he has his own career aside from the family wealth. And he never was exactly the ladies' man. And how when he met the gal who became his wife, he was extremely inexperienced, didn't know what he was doing, and fell for all the tricks I tell you guys to watch out for, ignored all the red flags, and she was an absolute gold digger, using him the whole 9 yards. And to no surprise, she wasn't exactly faithful to him. And anyhow, without revealing too much, because this is a great story, and that'll be a great one to go over here, guys, aside from the entertainment factor here, because this is very entertaining, lots of lessons in this whole story, which I will point out. And I guess the point, guys, let me tell you that I smacked this guy so much, I eventually got to stop because my pan here is just too darn sore. So this is a really good one. And by the way, guys, before, I know you're all going to scream at the end of the video, but this is actually a two-part series. This is part one, and I'll be doing part two a couple hours later. You know, give me a break here. And so half an hour each, and I think you guys will definitely really enjoy this series. It says, hello SSM. This crap show happened a couple of years ago. And it's about how I was tipped off by a birthmark and saved by following my grandfather's golden rule: no prenup, no marriage. Well, shout out to Grandpa for that rule. A bit of my backstory here. I'm the odd one in a family of lawyers. To give you an idea, my brother's son just turned 4, and everyone is already referring to him as our 5th generation lawyer. Oh, for goodness sake. What happens if he doesn't want to be a lawyer? What happens if he just wants to do charity work for Habitat for Humanity or something like that? I'm sure your family's got plenty of dough, obviously. My grandfather, father, brother, most uncles, some aunts, and pretty much 84% of my family tree are all or were lawyers, paralegals, or had something to do with the law. You can't imagine how intellectually annoying most of our family disagreements are. Bro, I have a number of friends that are lawyers. I got a couple of lawyers in the family. I had a long-term girlfriend that was a lawyer. I got to know tons of people when she was in law school. We were living together and all that way back in the day. Believe me, you get them all together and they debate about shit, oh my God. But you know what? That helped me. But yeah, it gets old. And the law is their fucking religion. It's crazy. As for me, I prefer numbers. So do I. After surviving 3 weeks of law school, I switched my career path. I became a financial analyst with a master's in corporate finance. In high school, I was the strange guy who spent time in math tournaments, sailing, and playing golf with my grandfather and his friends. Well, they may have thought you were the nerd or something because you were in math tournaments back then, but you're having the last laugh now. Needless to say, girls were never part of my surroundings. Therefore, when I met my wife, I was doomed to miss all the red flags and, well, prepared to be swarmed by them. Yep, that's the unfortunate part. But, fortunately, you're going to be okay. I was 27 and finishing my master's degree when I met my wife, Isabella. She was 29 years old, working in retail for a designer brand, and living with a roommate who was gone most of the time. While I come from a big family, hers was just her mother, 2 half-brothers, and a couple relatives. Half-brothers, huh? My parents have been happily married since their mid-20s, and her mother has been divorced twice. Well, I tell you about paying attention to your girl's family. These are important things to notice. If a girl comes from a family where obviously there was a lot of instability and mom's been married many times or dad's been married many times or there's drama, that's a red flag, but you didn't know that. My family comes from old money. Still, we were raised to be exceptionally work-oriented, while her mother lives from alimony and her younger brother's child support. Bro, this is not going to work. Right then and there. These are all profound core differences and red flags I should have paid attention to. But I was an idiot, and she was gorgeous. Think Aldridge, but shorter. Hence, it was to be expected that after being single for so long, not understanding how most women work, and seeing a stunning beauty like her interested in me, my brain and logic switched off. Yeah, you weren't getting any ass all those years or any attention, but all of a sudden, when you get older and you got that job and you're making money, and oh yeah, you come from family money, which I'm sure you couldn't keep quiet about. This is what happens, guys. I tell you all the time. If all those years they didn't give you the time of day, and then they're getting close to 30, or you're obviously becoming established and you're making something of yourself, and all of a sudden girls are paying attention to you, or just one pretty girl, you have to dig. I know you want to believe that the movies are right and there's something special about you. You deserve happiness. That's a bunch of crap. Be realistic, gentlemen. And this story is going to back that up. When I met Isabella, I didn't fall in love. I fell into stupidity and proceeded to do the worst things any man can do. And yeah, I know the smacks are going to hurt. Oh, my pimp hand is ready, my friend. While I don't like wearing or buying brands other than my Scotty Cameron or PXG, I purchase many designer things for her, especially when I visit the store where she used to work. Smack! Buying her affection. That's what you do. That's what guys like this do. That way she could get the item and the commission. I took her on expensive dates, gave her flowers on each date, and asked her to be exclusive after a few weeks. Smack! Now, let me ask you, does that communicate you're a guy with lots of options? That you're a guy that lots of girls are chasing after and want? Because guess what? The answer is no. Because guys that have lots of options and women chasing after them and are considered to be a catch by the opposite sex, don't do any of that bullshit. I know you are beginning to be aware of this now, but I have to point this shit out. Don't fucking do that crap, guys. That is just a big sign to her, like, oh, this guy's not getting any. I can jerk this guy around. I can put him around my little finger and keep demanding, and he'll keep giving to me. We moved in together on our 4-month anniversary. Smack! You nuts. You're probably thinking, oh, I'm going to get all the ass I never got before now. Let's see how long that lasts. And I proposed the same night we celebrate our first year. Smack! For God's sakes, dude. Your grandpa should be smacking the shit out of you if he's still alive. My entire world revolved around her. Okay, the pimp hand's already tired, but I would be smacking him. My entire world revolved around her. Dude, you're an idiot. Whatever she wanted, she had. Whatever she said, I agreed. Now that I look back at this, I see I barf at my evident desperation. At least you can admit it. Luckily for me, or any of my family members who find themselves in my situation, when my grandfather was young, he was massively used by a cheating woman, and he learned. He screwed up so bad that the entire family business was in danger, and his mistake almost cost his siblings' future and his parents' retirement. And that is why your grandpa is this wise old Master Yoda type with a kung fu slap, because he's been through the shit. Maybe this is foreshadowing, right? Like, your grandpa was a dumbass back in the day, and he almost lost it all. And you were obviously a dumbass, and now you're going to become like him, and then have like new rules for future generations. We can hope. From then on in, he established a set of rules, trust and binding contracts among the entire family to ensure that one person's mistake cannot jeopardize the future of the rest. In short, he couldn't care less how Isabella looked or not. All he cared about was keeping the family and the business safe. Amen. Business comes first. End of fucking story. And as long as your family are good people, that's going to come first. On the weekend of our engagement, my grandfather invited us to dinner at his house, and he had done as he had done with all my relatives who were getting engaged. After dinner, grandfather congratulated us on the engagement and gave Isabel a thick envelope with a handwritten phone number. I think Isabel assumed he was getting us a house because she couldn't stop grinning. Well, let's just see if she's grinning after she opens up the envelope. Grandfather explained that she needed to send these documents to her lawyer. Once they were done checking them, they could call the number of the envelope and make an appointment so we could meet at her lawyer's firm, review any changes, and sign it. No, it wasn't a house. It was a prenup. Oh my God. Guys, I bet this guy here was shitting his pants. Oh no, she's going to be mad. She's going to leave me. Ooh. I have to say, Isabel smiled and told my grandfather that she knew we were all lawyers and understood how that worked, but she came from a family that didn't believe in prenups. Yeah, because her mom's been married twice, living on alimony, and they're a bunch of users, right? What do you think Grandpa's going to say here? My grandfather responded that he understood each family has their own beliefs. Still, she would need to sign the prenup if she wanted to join our family. Isabel turned visually uncomfortable. She kept making excuses to leave the room with me, asking me to talk outside, asking if we could get a glass of water before continuing, and suggesting that we should consult this at home and then decide what we want together as a couple. I like that. Consult this at home and then decide what we want together as a couple. No, meaning that you're going to leave and she's going to throw a fucking temper tantrum or pout or do anything or go on a fucking pussy. You're going to be on a there's going to be no pussy if the little amount you no doubt we're getting until you agree with what she wants. Because she knows how to work it. Because, of course, you always gave her everything she wanted. And I might add, don't get me started on dudes on the side. Grandfather was just crossed his arms and told her it was clear she didn't understand what he meant. It doesn't matter how much we talk about it, the only way any woman or man could join the family was if they signed a prenup first, and that was final. Isabella said he was forcing her to choose between signing an oppressive document or breaking up the love of her life, but he corrected her. It wasn't forcing her to do anything. He was giving her two options. Either we don't sign and live together with separate accounts like we've been doing, or she signs, we marry, and merge our assets. What assets? What assets does Isabel have? Aside from all her, designer shit that you obviously bought for her, or some other sucker bought for her in the past. Isabella then made the terrible mistake of laughing and telling Grandfather that it was not like we needed his blessing, or that he was not supposed to be at the wedding to marry. We could just get married by ourselves. I still remember his disappointed look. Evidently, he disagreed with my choice of partner, and now I understood why. Still, he kept smiling at Isabella and told her she could and was free to marry me. Nevertheless, just so she was aware, her fiancé signed a contract of... I'll read this again. Nevertheless, just so she was aware, her fiancé signed a contract of reunification when I turned 21, just like my father did. My brother, big sister, and everyone in his family who turned 21 had and will. He told her, this means, in your specific case, if he gets married to you or anyone else without signing the prenup first, he willingly renounces his interest in his trust fund and approves the transfer of assets and company shares to his successors. Isabel stood quiet, and for a second I thought she either had a stroke or didn't understand what Grandfather was saying. Oh, she understood exactly what Grandpa was saying. But she then stood up and started screaming at me. She kept saying that this had to be illegal, and I needed to do something because they wanted to steal our money. Our money? Well, first of all, there's the family business, and there's the family wealth and all that, and this young guy here, he's only 29 years old. The only money he has, frankly, should be the money he made through his own sweat and working smart, working hard. The family money and his trust, he can get down the road, but guess what? That wasn't his money. That was the family money, and who has the keys to the gold mine? Grandpa. And smarter, wiser individuals that aren't pee-whipped. That's when Grandfather had enough. He also stood up and said something I'll never forget. Grandpa says, listen, trust funds aren't owed to anyone. They are gifted. In this house, we choose to gift our children their trust so they can enjoy life, be a part of the family company, and have those best opportunities to make something of themselves. This house has many benefits and luxuries, but this house has rules. You don't want to follow the house rules? Fine, but you don't get to play with the house. And with that, he asked us to leave. Good job for Grandpa. And by the way, Grandpa should have then said, grandson, come here, and proceeded to get his pimp hand and smack you for being a fucking bonehead. This is why, yes, while you're young guys, your main goal should be your purpose in making something yourself and establishing yourself for when you're older. But it is advisable to get some practice and familiarity with how things are with the opposite sex for your relationship guys. Otherwise, you end up like this guy, late 20s, no ass ever, or probably hardly any, clueless, and this is the type of thing that can come your way. Once we got home, Isabella was furious. Well, with her name being Isabella, I'm going to guess the background she has, and I can only imagine the hellfire of fury you were getting from her. She blamed me for not standing up for our decisions and signing the reunification of my trust. She cried, begged, and got angry, and even tried to sleep with me. Try to sleep with you. Usually that's when she'd be saying, you're not getting any. That was her next tactic. But when none of her tantrums made me call grandfather and change his mind, she simply ran and locked herself in the bedroom. How old is she again? I know I should have ended it right there. It's just difficult to make a decision when you don't know any better. Well, there's also common sense, amigo. I know the way my family handles the family and our business matters is not normal, so in my mind, I truly believe that she was just scared or needed time to adjust. Smack, dumbass. I know I could have smacked him 16 times at least since when I stopped smacking him, but my fucking pimp hand's already sore in the first 3 minutes of the story. This is why channels like yours are essential. It teaches men of all ages that situations like this aren't okay and should not be tolerated. Yeah, what you should have done at this point is kick their ass to the curb. Now, you're living together, and obviously you can afford to pay the rent and the bills without her helping. Getting her out of there may have been tricky depending on where you live, but still, should have been over a long time ago. You shouldn't have got involved with this broad. Oh my God. The following day, Isabella packed a bag and left to be with her mother. Wonderful. This is wonderful news. She said we should take some time to think about what we want and what we're willing to give up. She asked me to think really hard about what kind of future I wanted and said that she would call in a couple weeks after we cooled off. Oh, okay. So she expects you to be sitting around the phone waiting for her. Or she's expecting her little poker play here is to get you whining and begging, please don't go, Isabella. See, she knows, guys, that this guy, given his family and all that, could have pussy lined up as far as the eye could see. He could be walking around and a pussy falling from the sky that he's constantly dodging it with the amount of money his family has. But this guy just doesn't realize this yet. He doesn't realize. And putting that aside, the fact that this guy just does very well for himself could still have pussy falling down from the fucking sky and he has to dodge all the time. But he doesn't know this. You know this. I was devastated. Of course you were. I couldn't understand how she could leave like this, but I agreed. Now, I might have been an idiot in love, but in love or not, I'm not the type of man to beg. Well, good. So when she left, I let her go and never texted her one time. Instead, I worked, watched TV shows, and went golfing with my family. Good. You're redeeming yourself a little bit. Thank the Lord. See, guys, I've noticed that even like a lot of guys that are guilty of all this beta crap, simp crap, even some of them reach a point that they have some boundaries like that. Like here, I didn't beg. Not going to do that. I'm not going to text her. I'm going to let her go, you know. Even when I was younger, I made a lot of dumbass mistakes that just make me cringe looking back. Even I had limits where I was like, that's it, I'm fucking done with this bullshit. I think Isabella expected a parade of flowers, jewelry, and 100 daily missed calls because her couple weeks to cool off turned into 3 days. See what happens when you don't chase guys? When you freaking call their bluff and let them go? 3 days. I don't know what her mother told her or what she realized in that time apart, but when she returned home days later, she acted like the perfect woman. She kept telling me how much she loved me, massaged me, and had insanely high libido, and even brought coffee and lunch to my office. What an amazing attitude adjustment, because she realized what she was doing before wasn't working, so she had to go on to the next tactic. Idiot me thought everything was great again, and life went on. Smack, jackass. We signed the prenup that same month, and the wedding planning began. Again, why isn't Grandpa smacking you upside the head or whacking you in the head with his cane? You know, he should have like a cane, like, you know, in Back to the Future 2, in the future Biff, Grandpa Biff has that cane with like the fist on the end that he was knocking, you know, Marty McFly in the head with. That's what your grandpa needs. One of those fucking Biff from the future canes to whack you in the head when you're being a dumbass. Important information for later. I can't give the exact details for obvious reasons, but there are 4 main things in my family's prenup. Oh, take notes, guys. Number 1, the prenup meetings are held at the lawyer's firm, which the soon-to-be spouse decided to hire. Both parties film the meetings. Every change, remark, or suggestion is noted and fixed. And once both parties are 100% approved it, everyone meets there again. Both firms film, and we need it read out loud, signed, and notarize it. Holy crap. Number 2, the prenup protects any personal assets, funds, or property both spouses had before the marriage. Okay. Meaning all her fucking handbags and shoes that have all depreciated in value and all that shit. 3, In case of an amicable divorce, a large amount of money has been established for alimony, which includes keeping the property they're living in and providing an X amount of child support even if custody is split 50-50. We're talking about an amount that would be set the X for life without requiring them to work a day in their life. So, even so, she marries you and it doesn't work out, which obviously doesn't, she's still going to be set, at least at this point. 4, and finally, there's the infidelity clause. Aha! This clause specifies that if the divorce is filed due to a family member's infidelity, all the assets, properties, cars, and everything except for the shares from that family member will be divided 50-50 with the spouse plus the alimony. However, if the spouse commit adultery, they will relinquish all claims to assets, properties, and the previously agreed upon amount of alimony. They will receive only the minimum alimony and child support required by the law. There you go. In other words, as long as you don't screw around, it's incredibly fair to both parties. Even Isabella's lawyer was impressed and advised her to sign with minimal changes. From then on, it all happened fast. We married, moved into a bigger house, got 2 dogs, and found different groups of friends with whom we went on double dates with, had fancy dinners, went to concerts, traveled a lot, and lived the perfect life. Here we go. Smack! You married this asshole? God's sakes, man. Isabella loved our married life and the lifestyle I gave her. Well, I can imagine. But it ain't gonna be long before she's got all that, and now she's got to get some side dick. She kept her job, decorated our house multiple times, got a new car, went out on bar nights, and took fully paid vacation trips with her best friends. You should never allow that, my man. Aside from marrying her, no, she's a married woman now. You know, no girls trips, no bar nights, stuff like that unless she's with you. She can't be trusted. One of these inseparable friends was her coworker Veronica. They went everywhere together to watch movies, shop, go to bars, and even go on spa vacations, where they stayed at the hotel for the entire weekend. This was their life for over a year until Isabella got pregnant. So, the family money that was established back in the day is paying for this shit. Pissing away money. After her pregnancy, Isabella continued working, being active, and being social. I'm kind of amazed she's still working. Still, she took more time to bond with my mother. She asked for tips about babies, shopping for baby clothes, etc. She even invited my mom to brunch with Veronica and her friends. I was thrilled with that. I know how your mom isn't seeing the red flags with her. Then the baby was born, and it was incredible. Elodie, that's the name of your... I'm making sure this is spelled properly. Elodie. Elodie resembled Isabella, but she had a perfectly round mole an inch below her left lower eyelid. Just like the Green Lantern actress, but right below her eye. Well, I didn't see that stupid-ass movie. I was the happiest man on earth. Then the first change came. Oh, how interesting. Looking back, I should have known that there was something off. The same day Elodie was born, Isabella banned Veronica from entering the hospital, blocked her, and asked me to do the same. She said that her husband found out Veronica was cheating, and she wanted Isabella to cover for her and tell her husband that she was there for us at the hospital. Okay. I'm an idiot because at that moment I felt fortunate to be married to a woman with her morals. Oh man. As the days passed, Isabella became extremely paranoid. She didn't like anyone sharing pictures of Elodie on social media. I didn't mind that since I don't think anyone should put their child online. She stopped going to her brunch get-togethers, blocked half of her friends, and kept researching mole removals since moles can turn into melanoma. He's having that in quotes. She even took Elodie behind my back to a plastic surgeon to have the mole removed. Interesting that she's really going crazy about that mole here. Fortunately, the doctor refused since removing moles is not advised until the child becomes a teenager. During that time, her entire demeanor was strange, but even if I asked, all of her changes had an explanation. Shocker. She was tired and said she had postpartum depression. She blocked his friends because she now had a different lifestyle. They were jealous of her, she was worried for the baby, etc. And I never questioned a thing. Smack! Dude, I'm going to say what we're all thinking here probably. The pussy couldn't have been that good. Honest to God. And that was it. In my mind, I had a baby and a gorgeous wife, and our life was perfect. Yeah, we're going to come back to that life is perfect thing later on. Over a year after Lodi was born, I stopped at a mall to get a birthday gift for my mother. I was passing the jewelry section when I crossed paths with Isabella's coworker, Veronica, and she was furious. At that moment, I assumed she was angry because Isabella cut her out of our lives for being a cheater and trying to use our baby as cover. I thought her husband had divorced her and she was blaming us, or perhaps she just wanted the drama. Well, could have been a lot of those things, especially the drama. I was about to tell her we didn't want any issues between our families when she snapped at me, telling me how I should be ashamed of my family and that she wished Isabella would come to her senses and realize she deserved better than a controlling husband who's so insecure he can't allow his wife to have a life of her own. This guy's probably like, I beg your pardon? She said she hoped Isabella would leave me. I was so confused, SSM, I just stood there paralyzed. I even second-guessed whether that woman was Veronica. Well, clearly something's wrong here. Veronica must have confused my silence with shame or guilt, because she laughed and said that it was so typical of narcissists to shut up when confronted with facts and accountability. She then said money wasn't everything in life, and that just because my misogynistic family has money to burn, it doesn't mean that every woman who marries into my family wants to be a jobless stay-at-home wife. That Isabella is too nice to tell me how she feels, but I should be ashamed of myself for forcing her to quit her job she loved and block her best friends just to keep her as a trophy wife. Once she had finished her rant, dude, clearly this rant helped you. However, guys, if a woman is sounding off at you and you've done nothing wrong, particularly in public, walk away. Don't give it. That's what nice guys do. They actually stick around to hear the psychotic rants and be yelled at, especially in public. Turn around and walk. Now, this particular case, this will help him. But overall, it's some good advice. Once she finished her rant, she glared at me and asked what I had to say about this. What is she, your fucking second grade teacher? So I told her I would agree entirely with what she said, but I never made Isabella quit her job. She was fired. And now we were both confused. She took a step back and asked, what? I told her I never had an issue with Isabella working. I was thrilled she had something to do outside of her home and loved her excitement about going to work every day. Gee, guys, why do you think she was excited to go to work most women are not excited to go to work every day, unless there was reason being a guy named Chad or Tyrone or Julio to go to work every day. But when her boss found out she gave birth, he didn't like a sleep-deprived woman would fit with the brand standards, so he fired her. No, she quit, Veronica assured me. I helped her contact HR and handled the paperwork. She quit and told us it was because you would divorce her if she didn't start acting like a traditional wife should be. We stood there staring at each other for the longest, most uncomfortable 3 minutes of my life, both processing all the info that was said. I was trying to remember if Isabella had told me something else, and I was the one who misunderstood. Maybe I messed up and said something I shouldn't have. I took out my phone and called Isabella when a tall man with a couple of shopping bags arrived and asked Veronica if everything was okay. We're fine, she said, and said, OP, this is my husband, Mike. Mike, this is OP, Isabella's husband. He lifted his hand to shake mine and said something, but I didn't pay attention. My mind was officially out of that conversation. I even hung up the call before Isabella could answer. I never felt that consuming need to run away and puke until I passed out. I felt naive, used, and stupid for never questioning once what happened all that time ago. But at that moment, I understood everything. I understood why she quit, why she cut Veronica out of her life immediately after a baby was born, why the paranoia, and why the doctors. You guys are all thinking, why? Like Elodie, Mike had the exact same mole below his lower eyelid. After taking a closer look, I could see that some of her physical features resembled his. I told him I must have misheard what Isabel said after left without saying goodbye. Okay, so I have a question here. Can one parent of a child pass on a mole in the same fucking location? Or a birthmark or something like that? Okay, whatever. Maybe that's a clue, not necessarily. Is that a freak of nature here? Any medical people out there? But regardless, something's up. And we're going to learn something's up. I wish I could say I'm wrong and didn't feel anything, but I broke down. When Isabel called and asked about the missed call, I told my mom was having a panic attack about one of her events and needed to help retrieving all the info that she had lost. That happened a few times since we were married, so she didn't question it at all. I went to my parents' house, sobbed like an idiot, and told them everything. My mom turned all motherly, and my dad switched into damage control mode. He called the firm and asked to open a case to send one of the PIs to his house. While we waited for the PI, Dad explained we had to stay calm and not react until we got the DNA test, since everything we know is now hearsay and speculation. We can start reacting and moving forward once we have the DNA results and whatever information the PI can get. So the PI arrived, and we asked for her schedule, passwords that I might know, friends, anything I can make to make this go faster and get better results. He was incredibly professional. I've seen him work hundreds of times within the law firm, and he's outstanding at finding little details that can help break a case. It's funny how I never thought I would have to use his Liam Neeson-ness, but there I was. The first thing I had to do was easy. The PI gave me 2 swab kits, one for me and the other for my daughter. That night, when Isabella was in the shower, I used both kits, and the following day, I took them to my parents' house, where the PI was already waiting. It felt extraordinarily transactional and numb. Once that was done, the worst part came. For the following days, I had to pretend everything was great. And gentlemen, I'm going to stop here and take a break, because we're already looking at half an hour at this point, pretty darn close to that. And I will continue on part 2 within 2 hours, because I'm not doing this whole thing at once here. So, and you're going to find out how this very entertaining, informative story concludes. See you then.